Municipal Drunk. Today we're talking about The Fourth Wing with my two very best friends. Want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Jessica.
I'm Ryan.
And we're going to be talking
They'll probably
about.
call me zombie like 4,000 times in
Oh,
this
yeah,
video.
it's vice versa. Nickname Zombie, nickname Ryan. Who knows who his real name is? He's also Tin Diesel. So we'll figure
Yep.
that out. All right, we're also going to preference this whole thing with if you like this book, good for you. There is no harm, no foul. I am not hating you or your preference or getting mad or anything. But I'm going to give you a spoiler alert right now. We don't like this, like at all. So you're allowed to have it. I think it's a cozy read if you're trying to get back into reading, but this is not going to be talked about in a polite manner. So if you want that, the exit button is there. Have fun.
Skedaddle. Get out of here.
If
This
you
it
want,
ain't it.
yeah, if you want to hear
I'll
our
judge them
thoughts,
for you.
okay. If you want to hear our thoughts, you can continue staying here, and then we're gonna get at it because we got a lot to cover, and in a lot of time.
It's been something.
That was more than enough time for you to leave. So, yeah, this book is trash.
I don't know the hype. I've read the two books. I don't even care to pick up the third. I know more spoilers about the third. Still don't want to read it. Care less.
This whole thing started with I heard a lot about it and I was like, oh, cool. It's probably not going to be up my alley. Like, I already read A Court of Thorn and Roses, and like that's a gateway of becoming back into a reader, and it's the same kind of feel. Like, it feels almost novice. So I was not excited about getting into this. And then Jess was like, oh, did you want to read it with me? And I'm like, God, yes, I would love to buddy read something with you. And over halfway through the book, it wasn't awful. And then it got progressively worse and
I can
worse.
definitely see in the first half of the book where people would love it, and especially if you're either never really been a big reader and want to get into reading or trying to get back into reading. This book had plenty of potential, but it just I think if I'd hate to say this, if somebody else wrote it, it might have been better. But yeah, it just once we hit halfway, I just don't don't care. And I don't even think Ryan here is only on chapter 5 and he already hates it. So
Yeah, I'm not a fan. The premise is cool. I mean, dragon
yeah,
riding college, this whole war thing.
Dragon Riding
huh?
College, the war would be interesting. The connections between Dragon and Rider, if it was done better and made more sense, it would be interesting. But it's just half-assed kind of, and it just it ain't it.
Because, like, it seems that most of it's, like, fleshed out. Like, halfway through the book, you can actually feel, like, what is the magic system working on? And you can actually feel, like, what they were going for. But then it, like, she breaks her own rules sometimes to make it more convenient. And that's what drove me insane was, like, if you want conveniency for conveniency, there needs to be a retort against that conveniency. So, like, for instance, why do people have two powers? Conveniency. Like,
Yeah,
what is the back effect of why is that inconvenient all of a sudden? Because if you're trying to get your characters out of a situation, you're like, dude, this is gonna be too hard. Here's your out. That out needs to have consequences later, and there was
yeah.
zero consequences in this entire book.
And even like me knowing like what happens in the third book, like knowing about Violet's powers, after like hearing about all the stuff and how she gets, I'm trying not to spoil it, but how she gets her
Spoiler,
powers,
hey.
why she has her powers, and
Spoilers, spoilers,
why she has
spoilers.
why she has two dragons and possibly more. um it's just it doesn't make sense. And if she's supposed to be this powerful person with two dragons, like that's fine, but at least write it to make sense. Like not, she's been fated this whole time to have multiple dragons. I
For
just
what cause? That her mommy's the headmaster? That her
yeah.
daddy was part of the war? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't fate you. If you wanted someone to be fated for it, put like a brand on her and goes like, the sociopath decided to give me a curse. Ta-da! I'm fated. Like,
Yeah, or like I don't know, like even like the dragons like fated her. I don't
all because she saved a dragon. It just seems like oh, you know what? Like kind of like a pantser kind of writing style was, oh, this scene's super cool. You know what I can do? Boom! There's some extra stuff. But then how do you get yourself out of this situation? And a lot of it
Right.
felt like catching back up to things that happened because they are cool ideas, but it needed to be tailored and edited down.
Yep.
Well, this is kind of how I feel about the whole dragon thing, right? As it's presented in the early parts of the book, these dragons, they choose their riders, but in the early parts, they're most of the people who try to become dragon riders die, which I don't understand why so many people in their society are trying to become dragon riders, knowing that like I think 90% of them die in the end is what it boils down to if we actually did the math. But then when they first meet dragons, they just eat people randomly, except for this one blue dragon just stares at her kind of weirdly, and there's no reason why the dragons actually need people that we can find out about. That's something that should be seeded really early if it's going to be a core part of your story.
And even if like I think that, like I said, I haven't read the third book, but I think like the third book kind of touches on it. But I think you shouldn't have to wait till third, fourth, fifth, sixth book to like explain why the dragons may need the humans, even if it was just kind of covered, but
Just
like
a teaser. A teaser
yeah,
is all
like it
we
doesn't have
needed.
to
Just
be like
something
fully
seeded.
fleshed out of like why dragons need riders, but
Just say we're lonely, and then later in the book series go like, actually, it's really because of this problem. But
yeah.
we just say we're lonely because you guys are idiots and believe it. You know, like something like that. Like it's so easy to have a
Lit-
teaser.
Literally any reason at all, seeded early is needed. Right now, it's just dragons are cool and dragon riders are cool, and I want an excuse for my main character to flirt with every person she sees.
But don't worry, she's a terrible flirt. She's only really
but
good at thinking.
she's so fragile that like she also doesn't like when they flirt back or say anything back because she's a fragile little soul and she's so fragile that she'll get hurt and everybody needs to save her because she's so fragile, but she doesn't want to be saved because she's
Because
so
she's not
fragile.
fragile. Because I have to
No.
prove that I'm not fragile. But I'm super like her. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Violet because her inner turmoil is the most boring crap I've ever read. Because it's about a YA character who pretends that what she's like what fucking 23 is that what this is supposed to be? She pretends she's literally a teenager in an adult body so we could have sex in this book, and then she just goes, "Oh, I'm on the brink. I'm really high up. Like, I'm doing really good. I'm on a brink of despair. Oh, I'm doing really good. Brink of despair." It's like on a fine line of suicidal thoughts on her own self, and she won't acknowledge it. And it's just so infuriating of, I'm so fragile. You know what? Sometimes I can kick butt, guys. Please love
Yeah.
me. It's just, ah, like,
And
end
I'm so
scene.
fragile, but I'm really, really book smart because I grew up in the library and I know how to poison people and I know how to do this and I know and I know I think tactically, which is fine. If that was going to be her main core, is she's not a strong character, but she's strong in her mind, then yeah, she could have just played along with that. It actually kind of would have been nice to have a female character, like lead character, that wasn't strong and isn't going to ever become super powerful besides maybe just in her mind. Like having a very tactfully powerful person with some cool dragon powers or whatever would have been cool. But no, we have this fragile human being who's going to become powerful because her dragons are going to boost her power, but she still has the mentality of, "Oh, I'm so fragile and I can't do anything and I'm just going to break or whatever." But I just feel like it could have just been so much better if she was like, "Yeah, I am fragile, but guess what? I'm more tactful than possibly my own mother that I can work around things. I can help plan what we need to do for, X, Y, and Z." And it's she's like kind of there, but then it slopes back, and then they're like, "Oh wait, now we got to add her to be strong, powerful wise," and then it slopes back down because
It always
Zayden's got to
repeats.
protect her, and
Yeah.
Zayden's got to do this.
It always repeats because even then, like even with the discussion of Zayden and Violet's relationship, like the slow burn build up, fine, whatever. It's kind of moronic, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. But at the very end, they get together and they're like both going like, yeah, we just only want to screw each other. And then she goes, you know what? I don't actually though. I want a relationship. And Zayden's like, we just talked about this. What are you
Yeah,
doing? And then they just bicker about bullshit for another 100 pages. I was like, we just went through this with the slow burn. Why are we back here again?
But is it
That's
really
how I
a slow
feel.
burn? Doesn't he show up in like the next chapter that I'm reading in the
Yeah.
training sequence?
Yeah, they
Like,
don't really hook up
Oh,
though until like
oh,
300
just
pages.
wait. You haven't even hit the good parts of the training sequence with Zayden. Oh God. You haven't hit the he's so hot. Oh, the
oh,
sweat dripping off
God.
his body is so hot. Oh, I just can't stop staring at him because he's so hot. But I fight him. He's such a bad person, but he's really hot. That's the whole thing. And it's fine to have an act if this was an actual enemies to lovers, which it's really not. It's just these two people who hate each other.
It's faux enemies to lovers, so they still help each
Yeah,
other
they
out.
just like bicker the whole time, and it doesn't feel like they're actually enemies. In my opinion, Zayden hates her more than she hates him,
She
even
doesn't
though
hate
she's technically
anybody.
supposed to hate him more than he hates her. And the only reason Zayden hates her is because of her mom. So there's I don't. The whole dynamic just doesn't make sense really. And it's fine to be like lustfully attractive to someone in a book, but make that be it, not enemies to lovers. Like you should hate somebody at their absolute core and then like throughout the book being like, okay,
You
this
chip it
little
away.
thing about him.
Yep.
Yeah, this little thing about him I do enjoy. You know what? He does have little gold freckles in his eyes that I do find attractive. But no, right away it's just like, oh man, the sweat dripping off his body is
No.
so hot.
No.
And it's
Actually,
like,
I
well,
remember. What was it? She only started liking Zayden like as a human being, like other than like a statue object of the pure sex god he is. But it was
yeah.
when he actually started liking Zayden was when what's his name? Dane,
Dang.
the best friend.
The best friend guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kisses her and she goes like, "Oh my god, this is not what I wanted." And that's how I was like, "What are we reading? This is not a throuple. This is just boring."
Oh, so she doesn't end up with the guy that she spent 3 paragraphs to admiring his biceps in chapter 3, I think.
Well, I actually forgot she admired anything about him because I was pretty sure like when I was reading this like you're not hooking up with him. This is just so like water gloss. And then I read about
See,
Zayden and I was like, oh my god.
I knew it wasn't going to be Dane because they were the best friends, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh, this is supposed to be the first love interest, but yeah,
Not the. Yeah, makes
oh,
sense.
just wait, you haven't even hit the part where we have the conflict about against Violet and Dane yet.
Oh boy.
I do have to give some. I'm going to give one positive thing. There are some scenes that make sense. There are some scenes in some like conversations that can go like, "Oh, this book is actually kind of getting good," and then immediately after, it goes right back down the toilet. And I'll give you a discussion. So the part where Zayden was talking to basically Dean, best friend, don't care, basically saying like, "Hey, you need to be doing better." She's obviously trying to learn, blah blah blah. Like the scene was fine. It was okay. It was like, okay, cool. We're going the up and up. And then immediately after, you go into these trials about climbing the wall. I cannot tell you what the wall looks like. What are the obstacles? I can tell you what the obstacles are for, aka simulating going onto a dragon, but I don't know what they do or how the danger is there. Are they going up into the sky where you can fall and die? I wouldn't know. It is so badly described where I had to reread it 3 times. I still have no idea what wall they're going up and how she cheated. I don't get it. I honestly don't.
Yeah, and I feel like with like that whole thing, like that's like kind of like what middle of the book when they do
Yeah.
the wall. That's like the second or third trial. No, the second trial is the skin wrestling shit
Yeah, that was
or
their
whatever.
workup though. They were trying to. It was kind of like the divergent phase of like, oh, this is a cool scene. I want to make it cooler.
Yeah,
I call it the divergent scene.
but like I remember for the wall, honestly, I can barely remember. I remember that she cheated, um, but yeah, like she kind of described that it's super tall and that if you do fall, you can die. But other than that, there was no. It would have even been nice of like, why are they training with this wall? Like, what does it have to do with like training for the war? Like, is it because they're going to be climbing walls that are as tall as the wall, or like they don't explain, honestly, even any of the trials besides meeting your dragon, they don't explain the point of the trial.
Mm-mm.
Ever. They don't ever explain it. They don't ever explain why the first trial is the stupid deep cannon that's like this thin that you have to run across.
Also,
Why?
I have no
Why is that?
idea. Yeah,
Oh,
I have
good.
no idea what the scene was because they were talking about a bridge, and then what were they talking about? A castle that she was climbing? I don't
I
get
have
it.
no idea what she was climbing to, and I just read it, or I just listened to it. I'm on audiobook. All I know is that they were climbing across this thing. It was narrow. She was reciting these really weird facts as some weird way to try to hide exposition. But then it was intermixed with this guy named Jack who was yelling he's going to kill her the whole time, loud enough for everybody to hear. But apparently there was only one person talking, and it was him and nobody else that was climbing that wall. No screams of the other
One dude.
63 people that died or so whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually like have any sense of urgency because she had 500 years to monologue about shit between his taunts, so the timeline doesn't actually make sense. And then he like throws off this random recruit that we don't care about at all.
Yeah.
um
Niblave.
I had
Yeah.
no investment in the scene at all except for like, cool, she's crossing this bridge, it's supposed to be dangerous, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, and she
But
had one shoe on because she gave her other shoe to the other girl who's supposed to be who becomes her best friend.
Rihanna?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
something about her shoes. And then, like, when they get across the bridge, the guy is there and he's almost got her, but she's got his dagger and it's up against his balls. And I'm just like, this is the dumbest bullshit ever. You watched a Assassin's movie somewhere and somebody pulled a knife on somebody like that. And you're like, oh, this sounds cool. Which even, like, the whole dagger thing is.
Well, and even
You
like you
played a
were
video
talking
game.
about it earlier, like there's no repercussions of killing anyone
None.
within trials. If you do it, you do it. Um, well, I'll let me retouch base on that in a minute. So yeah, so like you said, there's no repercussions whatsoever if in the first, or at least I guess in the first trial or whatever, even in the dragon part. But
All of them.
so yeah, like why wouldn't people just be hucking people off anyways? Like it's only Jack, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
yeah, like him and his little goonies are the only ones that actually try to harm other people to get up higher ranking or whatever. Like
Not when it's time to sleep. Everybody's peaceful at bedtime.
They all have their own rooms too.
not that's what I'm touching back on. So then there is a part where somebody tries to harm Violet and then she gets harmed and then it becomes a problem. Like so Jack trying to kill Violet this whole time, and then Violet ending up hurting other people in the wrestling training part, which you haven't hit really yet. She harms people in different ways, and like all of that's fine. But the moment somebody harms or tries to harm her again, and Zayden steps in and harms then it becomes a huge problem. Where like he gets put on trial, and Dane comes in, and his plot twist is shown, and blah blah blah. So it's just it's like you were talking earlier, like if one person has repercussions, why doesn't anybody else have repercussions? Because realistically, in as a human being in this world of war, people are going to try to harm each other to climb ranks, not have to go into war, try to do things to like survive, I guess.
Yeah, because
Because
like
that's what this
even
whole fucking thing is them trying to survive to fight in a war.
yeah,
But
because
what are they surviving? Like, everything seems
The
peaceful
the,
behind this
the
wall.
trials is what they're trying to survive
yeah,
because
as of right now, that's what like because we're not going onto the war just yet. Because like think about if you
Oh,
go
okay.
into the military, you have to get through basic training first. So they're basically in basic training. So everything is peaceful because they I mean they get attacked once in a while, but it's really just glossed over and not really described very well. So we're just gonna gloss over it in this recording because duh. But overall, it's just like I think what Jack was trying to do was trying to be like savage to get a savage dragon to happen. But you don't know what's available. You never know what
No.
dragon is going to go like, oh, I'm out of an egg, or oh, my last rider died. So honestly, I don't know if I want you or not. And it turns out, apparently, because conveniency, there is a dragon who is ruthless as he is, and he adopts him. And then they just go like, oh, ruthless time. Let's make chaos. And it's just I don't understand the point. Like, it's just a character to be evil. And even, like, I think they touched on it later, was Jack was, like, feeling sort of sad, and then he was just trying to play her, and I was like, how did you fall for this?
Yeah.
He's
That
been
doesn't make
evil to you. A, B, C, and D reasons. He has never shown a sign. The one time
Yep.
he decides to show a sign on scene 5, you're like, maybe he's turning a corner. For what? What happened to him? Why did you believe that? I don't know. It seemed conflict is unnecessary because conflict needed to be written into it.
So
Yep.
does he have a motivation to try to kill Violet past just
She's the
uh,
headmaster's daughter, and that was
yeah,
like a really good
basically
name for
she's a
him.
nepo baby
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and he hates that. Is that
Mm-hmm.
his only reason for trying to kill her?
That's his only
Nailed it.
reason.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I could forgive the past sins if there's a deeper reason why he hates her later on coming, but this whole like her mom is the general and I hate the fact that she's here. It doesn't make any sense because they even talk about like what's his name? The general's son got killed by a dragon, so there's not like a fair selection process or nepotism doesn't fucking matter because there. So why is he angry about this?
Yeah, and Violet never wanted to be in the Dragon Riders thing to begin with. She wanted to be a scholar or what
Scribe.
it's called.
Scribe.
Yeah,
Yep.
scribe. And so obviously she doesn't get, like baby points because she's the general, the headmaster's daughter or whatever. Like she still gets forced into this. It's not like she just gets, it's my daughter. Like the mom is ruthless to her daughter and is like, if you die, oh well,
This is on
So
you.
yeah, because you're weak. Here we go back to the fragile thing, So it's just stuff like that. And like you said, it would be fine to like make it believed that, Jack wants to harm her just because he doesn't like it. And then yeah, later in the book find out that
She stole
there's
his
another
bubble
secret
gum when they were
reason.
2 years old.
Yeah, or like they've been, his family has been friends with their family and they have some weird beef. Nothing like that. It's just
And if there
he's
is issues later, we forgot them because they were so unimportant.
yeah.
Like,
It's been a long time since I've read this book, and I'm sure I'm probably missing things that were important,
it
but
was
I
last
hate it.
year, and I'm already forgetting half of this book. Why did it need to be this long?
I barely remember the second book at all, and that was like we read
This
that book
year.
what, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. The first 200, 300 pages of the second book are so freaking boring.
They were
that
about
I
a bagel.
care less.
We got drunk off of the bagel. This is going to happen next time. We got drunk reading the second book of the Fourth Wing series because she said bagel too much.
Bagel?
Bagel.
Bagel.
Isn't
And
this like a
about
fancy medieval setting? Why do they have
No.
bagels?
It's just literally bagels, like bread bagels, like
bread bagels and that, and I think we also drank too how many times that she's like, "You're alive." I'm not telling you who, but you're alive. You're
oh
alive.
my god! Can
Oh,
you
it's your
put
brother. I remember this.
Okay.
I remember that.
Okay. Yeah. So, let's talk about that reveal. I understand how people got surprised about it, but I'm over here going, okay, this is the second time you said your brother said he's not dead.
Yeah.
Like done. Super easy. This is gonna be
I
that.
knew from the time that I read multiple times about her brother being dead, and that's the whole reason why she hates Xaden is because his people killed her brother. Actually, I can't remember if it was him. I don't even remember. It might have been Xaden's family member or something killed her brother or killed her brother. I
The
don't remember.
Rysand family or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, wait a second. If she's so intellectual, why is she pinning the sins of an entire people on one person who is not even involved? She's not book smart. She's stupid.
Well, because Xaden's people were we're going to put it in Star Wars terms, Xaden's people were the rebellion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
And then you could see how the rebellion isn't actually that bad, and then it flips again, and then again, and then again.
Yeah. You start to like, when you learn about Xaden's like people at the end of book 1, you're like, oh, so they're not actually bad, but then that's when it turns to like Violet's family, and then all of a sudden we flip back and it's whole are bad again. So it's I don't think she actually knew how far she wanted to take into the rebellious people. That's why they have the special tattoos, is because they're the rebels. I just
But they're allowed to be dragon riders in this society
They're forced to be
too.
dragon riders. They're basically like slaves, which doesn't
yeah,
make
they're
any sense
slaves,
because you're giving them power to fight for your cause against their own people,
but
which
because they're under the
Yeah.
watch and it's only the children of the people of the rebellion, and they get branded with this tattoo so that the headmaster and all her little stupid goonies can watch over them. And they can't have more than like four tattooed people in a setting or some shit. I don't remember.
yeah, there's
But
no
they have like,
conjugating or whatever.
yeah, they can't have conjugations or whatever. So, and the only way that you can decipher these people
For
are
real,
when
they can't have a war party.
Yeah.
they,
Spoiler alert, they all talk to each other anyway, so what are you really doing? Like, I don't
I know.
understand giving. There's no consequence for this other than what's happening later. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have all these children have, like, these awesome dragons and these awesome powers, and they will never revolt against me because I knew them as children.
yeah,
How did that make sense?
That
you
might.
rip them from their families, possibly killed family members, if I remember correctly, and you expect them to not rebel against you. I just,
The holes, and this
Wait,
is
like
what
I
we're
is
said,
thinking.
this book had so much potential. That's why I picked it up, because I love dragon riding. Like, one of my favorite books is kind of the same concept. There's a war and there's dragon riders. That book is a YA book, and it is written 500 times better than this book. Like, and there's no smut scenes. I didn't need it. The smut scenes in the YA book that I read is was fade to black, and I didn't need it, and it made the book that much better. And I enjoy smut, but I just feel like this book had so much potential, but because she didn't really know where she wanted to go and how the point of certain people being certain people, it just doesn't make sense. And in the second book and third book, it gets so much worse, because then you start reading and you're like, wait, what?
We're not talking about the second book, but yeah, I didn't know there was another class or species, and I was just sitting there going like, wait, what? Because like the
class or
main,
species of what?
they ride griffins in the second book. Spoiler alert.
Oh,
Um,
we heard about the Griffins, but I thought they were the bad guys.
They're Griffin Riders. So the bad guys are Griffin Riders. Yes. It
but then
You don't really find that out till like the last 50 pages of
yeah,
Why?
14, but
Why? That seems like a really important detail to seed early on. Like that. Oh my goodness, that actually makes such a better story of Zayden as a Griffin rider, and she meets him on the battlefield, and we fast forward through all just to the graduation scene, and make it the battlefield, and he's a Griffin rider, and she's a Dragon rider, and like all of a sudden clash their force proximity. Yeah, you have such a better story there doing that. Holy shit.
well, no, because we needed Zayden's dragon to be mated to Violet's dragon. We needed that plot point for a reason,
oh, what
which you
was
But
haven't
it?
hit that yet either.
What was it?
yeah.
So after the matation, they're like still trying not to have sex with each other and blah blah blah. And they just go to like the schoolyard.
They
Oh my
seeded that in the
god,
first
does he like
chapter.
me? Oh my
But
god, does he want to touch me? Like, 'cause I kind of want to touch him, but when he touches me, I just feel gross, and it's just so weird. Like that was the whole thing, and then they go into okay, let's bone, and then the boning was so boring. It was like, oh, there's a bunch of things breaking. How are they breaking? How are you doing this? Why are we feeling this way? Like sad rather than happy? Like what is going on? And then she what? Comes with lightning bolts and it just starts a forest fire that no one deals with. Like,
And she catches the curtain on fire. I like to compare this sex scene as if, so it's like Twilight was written with the same sex scene, because this is what happened in what, Breaking Dawn or whatever, when they finally boned and she got pregnant with a vampire baby. They broke all the furniture.
Yep.
So literally, it is Twilight sex scene 2.0 with more
graphic design.
graphic. written graphically with the whole lightning thing. I feel like that is so cheesy that like it would have been cool to have like since she can control lightning, spoiler.
That's her power.
That's her power. So that she can
I'll read
control
about that in a second. I have thoughts on that already just hearing it.
like it could have been better if it was like while they were boning, like, oh, I felt this lightning surge
Surge.
through me,
Yeah.
and like Zayden's shadow powers and her lightning powers like united and created some anything.
And they made it
Anything.
my
But
own
no,
shadow lightning baby.
we went with the lightning came through the window and caught the curtain on fire. That's what you chose? That's what you chose out of
So she doesn't. So she's a lightning rod, essentially. Like that's what it is. She doesn't.
She
whenever
summons it,
her
yeah.
emotions are heightened, her lightning powers gets boosted and she can control. So when she gets angry, you'll learn this. She brings down lightning from lightning Thor.
I was like, it's more
Okay.
like Storm from
Oh,
Marvel.
okay. Storm from
That's
X-Men.
yeah. She
Okay.
can't just go like
Yeah,
you
she can't
know.
be like it's more
Okay.
of like emotions, and
Mhm.
she hasn't learned because she just found out that that's her power. She hasn't learned how to control it. So then while she's boning, her uncontrolled lightning comes in through the window and catches the curtain on fire. But no, do they stop? Nah, they got to finish boning first. Then they handle her.
Oh, I thought no. I thought Zayden's shadows did all the work for him.
Oh, maybe.
So
I don't
I
remember.
don't remember.
That first and foremost, it took 480 pages to get to that scene, and I was royally disappointed when I finally hit that scene because I had to deal with their constant gosh dang bickering about wanting to bone each other, but they can't because they hate each other.
It's
I had to deal with
schoolyard.
that for 400 something pages, and when I finally hit there, I break all the furniture. My bed is broken. My chair is broken. My dresser is broken, and I caught the
Wait.
curtain on fire.
Why did it take 480 pages? They literally talk. Her and her sister talk about it in chapter one, and her sister's like, "Yeah, just go ahead and do it with whoever because you never know when you're gonna die."
Yeah.
Like that's yeah. They talk about that. That's chapter one. That's yeah.
No, it's like 300 to 400 pages before you finally hit that point.
Yeah, because like a lot of
That's
it
stupid.
is like the world building, right? And then so she, at one random time when she's finally doing better with the sparring divergent matches, she sits down and goes, "I'm ready to get laid." To her friends, and they're like,
That's right.
"Yeah,
I do
let's go
remember
do
that.
that." And then like, of
Really?
course, best friend goes, "Huh, I'm here." And then they just start not boning and just talk to each other. And then she's like, "Cool, I'm gonna go find somebody else," and just goes boop boop boop, and then doesn't find anybody else, and we get more. I don't
Yeah,
understand it.
because when they like thinking about boning each other, they kiss, and then Violet's like, "Ew, no,
I
I
love
don't
you like
like
a
this."
brother.
Oh, wait a second. The guy that she quote he filled out in a way that made her blink. That's the line. I remember it.
Yeah, that line
And then spent 3 paragraphs admiring his biceps.
is friend
That's the guy.
zoned. Is
That's
friend
the guy
zoned.
that's friend zoned. Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And I'm
that
glad
makes
you
sense.
brought those lines up because when you said he filled out in a way that makes me blink, there are so many conversations and like just one-liners just shoved into this book that took me out of it so hard where I was like just blinking and going
Yeah,
like, "You chose this? This made the cut?" Like, I
there's
don't
a
understand.
lot of that. Like we were talking about it yesterday, I think, or maybe the day before, where like maybe this is just a me problem. It could be, but it's a fantasy setting. It seems to be a high fantasy setting. There doesn't seem to be a lot of technology going around. It swords, daggers, dragons, magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty standard high fantasy stuff. But there's so much modern slang that's just thrown around for no real good reason. Like I think she says "for the win" in chapter two for whatever reason, just randomly as like a period at the end of a paragraph. And I don't know. It's
Maybe
just
it's like respect the mountain, right? Like when you're going to go on a hike, you're like respect the wind, respect the mountain. I don't know. I never even remember for the wind. I don't remember ever being said in this book. So,
oh no, not for the wind, for the win.
oh,
For the win. Woohoo, for
oh.
the
Yeah.
win.
All right, I'm not editing that out because I'm an idiot. Um, But it's like it kind of reminds me of the writing of 50 Shades of Grey. Have you guys ever read any of this?
Oh my, oh
Nope.
my
My
God.
Labidia
Oh,
did the limbo or the hula. It's like that's what it reminds me of. There were like these just jabs of just worthless conversation or worthless like sentences that I just sit there going, why would you say that? Like there should be a better way of describing this or something.
yep.
Yeah.
I just,
Can we talk about those powers a little bit more? Because she controls lightning. Let's talk about this. She controls lightning. That is her power. She's like this super badass who uses daggers instead of swords. Okay, that's another point that we could talk about if you want to. It's stupid.
She has two
She controls
powers.
lightning.
She has two powers.
She has two powers.
Hmm.
Okay, but one of them is the
lightning is the
control.
main one.
Lightning's her main. What's the other one? Because there's
She doesn't get
like
it till later. So go ahead and with your
okay,
conversation, and then I'll just give you the drop, like the
okay,
spoiler drop later.
because okay, so she controls lightning. She's not boning this guy who controls literal shadows, which is a much cooler power in a
Yep.
dragon setting. Why is lightning a thing? These are dragons. They breathe fire. I'm probably sure that dragons just also breathe lightning at some point in time if they're following some kind of elemental rule. I don't know if they do or not. They seem to be.
I don't
But
know.
then we have
She never touches on that ever.
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
okay. But then we have in this early stages, I think it's Dane, it might be somebody else, I don't remember, that literally sees the outcomes of battles before they happen. He's omniscient essentially. He's or not omniscient. What's the word I'm thinking of? Precognition.
He
Sure.
sees the
He's
future pretty much.
yeah, he sees the future. I'd be pissed if my power was jazz hands in this world.
I don't think you know best friend's power yet, but basically his power is if he touches you, he can know all of your previous memories.
That's such a bet. Oh yeah, no, they did touch on that because they talked about how he's like the greatest. And he'll be the greatest
Interrogator.
interrogator or something like that. But yeah, like one of the generals is like, I see the outcomes of battles before ever. Why are you fighting this war then? Why isn't it ended? If you see the outcomes of battles, why are you taking losing battles?
I'm pretty sure, Q, correct me if I'm wrong, don't they like that guy because of his power?
No, no, no,
Because
no.
he,
They killed the guy who could mind read. And he just
that's
got
right.
a signal, just got it unlocked, and he's like, "Why is everybody talking?" And he has like a freaking meltdown. But he's too powerful with mind reading because you could know everything at all times, and you'd go mad. And so they just burned him in the spot, like literally in the middle of the cafeteria. You just go, "Blah!" He's dead. No longer that problem.
So, so Professor X gets executed, but the guy who can see the future doesn't.
Yep. Because the guy who can see the future doesn't know all of the secrets.
Or the guy that if he touches you, he can look into your memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Isn't that
more
just like
powerful.
yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'd be pissed if my superpower in this world was like yeah, lightning bolts.
Don't worry. She doesn't know that she still unlocked her sigil until they kiss her and Xadian or Xaden. And he doesn't tell her. He just like stops kissing her. Like, you need to go. And then she just leaves, and it's like a fucking another forest fire because it just forest fires. You know, they just happen randomly.
I don't, what, so he
Oh,
notices her sigil unlock, but because her sigil unlocks, he's like, "All right, I have fun. I called you a cab." like,
basically, it doesn't tell her, and then she has to figure out. Like, she's still stressing out. Go like, I still haven't unlocked it, which is a lot more unnecessary drama for no
Yeah.
reason. But finally figures it out that she did unlock it a while ago, and she's not going to explode. Are you ready for her second power?
yeah, what is this
It is
awesomeness?
a very convenient power that she no longer has by the, what is it, last three quarters of the book. She unlocks this power, and at the very end, she no longer owns this power. Her
Yeah,
second dragon gives her, she can time
So like
stop.
she can
she can
freeze time.
she can freeze time.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a badass power. Why does she lose that?
Because it's inconvenient for later story plots.
Oh, so we wrote ourselves into a
So
wall.
She
pretty
only,
Is
much
what happened.
her dragon, her dragon because she's such a young dragon. Which in the second book, I think it's the second book. It might be the third book. I know the gold dragon. Cough cough. That isn't actually a gold dragon. Um, actual power because she has a different power. But when she's a baby, she gives Violet this one power one time.
I think she
And then
uses
once
it like 3 times or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then but like I think Violet can control it like once or twice. Like the drag so usually the dragon is the one who does it to save Violet. But I think if I remember at the end of the book, the reason that Ardana or whatever the heck her dragon's name doesn't have that power anymore is because she is a baby and it like drains her life or drains her power or something. Her pretty much the
Yeah.
baby dragon can't handle it. That's the gist of it.
Because, like, they were, like, testing it, right? Like, in secrecy, because Violet didn't really tell anybody other than, like, cough, cough, the people who apparently are main characters. But so, of course, during this huge battle, and she's already using so much lightning in this also awful ending battle sequence. It was okay. We're not going to talk about that right now. So as soon as like this battle's happening, Zayden falls from his own dragon, and his own dragon can't save him. But they need a much needed time stop to save everything.
How does uh, okay? I may be going into a little bit of the Sanderson territory here, but what's the limitation of this? Like, it's time stop. That's cool. The dragon's life force is drained. That's, I mean, okay, that's a problem to work through. That's not really
It's
the
a
thing.
payoff and a consequence.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's kind of a thing, but like,
Mm-hmm.
what are the actual limitations of this? She just time stops, and she and her dragon can move through time. Can she
Mm-hmm.
choose other people to move through this time, like as well? I don't understand what's going on with this power. Also, it seems like she wrote herself into a wall, which means she's not really clever because time stop is not an uncommon power to have in fantasy settings. And clever writers can work around that power in really clever ways.
Yep. And good fantasy writers can have really severe consequences for time stop that makes sense, but still can come back and not write themselves into a wall and make it make sense and make it a very key point to the story. Realistically, the only reason she has this second power, well, two reasons, is because she has another dragon. And
Mhm.
the other key reason is it's for the two main like times that it is used, it is to get Violet out of a situation.
Oh, so it's plot armor.
It's plot armor. It is a protection mechanism to keep Violet going in the
It's
story.
her ace in the hole to solve the issue, and then she's like, "Okay, well, my ace in the hole is too strong. Cut the cord. Let's move on for another idea." And I was just like, "Okay." I don't even remember in the second book. I don't think she gets another power from her yet. I don't care. Don't remember.
Oh gosh, that knowing that pisses me off a little bit because how cool would this have been? Let's say she does this time stop ability in the middle of a fight, and the enemy goes, "Guess what power I have, bitch? Same one. It doesn't work on me." And now she can't use her ace in the hole, and she's actually got to rely on her smarts or whatever
Yeah.
that she doesn't actually have because reasons.
For such a fragile
Because
lady, the biggest dragon chose her too. So like, it doesn't make any sense. Because if you wanted a really fragile character, like what you were saying, Jess, to be like good, you would want a cunning, like a low key kind of like Loki kind of dragon. That way, your
yeah,
cunnings will match with cunning, and you guys can just like slip through barriers and stuff like that. Like rather than
exactly. And wouldn't that have been way more cooler than lightning? Also, like just to kind of like touch back on why dragons need people, like it also doesn't explain like why dragons pick their riders. They kind of touch on it like when they start talking to each other, but it really doesn't go into detail like, you know, why do dragons pick specific riders? Like obviously Jack and his dragon both are
are
like
the same person.
ruthless and they just want to like, you know, everything and anything that moves, you know. And so like that makes sense, but like Taryn and Violet, besides that she's some fragile little being that he wants to protect, it doesn't make sense like why they are connecting. And also like we don't know why Zayden and his big blue mean dragon or whatever attitude
Surreal,
dragon are connected
surreal.
either. there's no there's no reason why these dragons pick these people, and if there is, it like gets kind of skimmed over. The only one that kind of makes sense is the gold dragon because Violet saves her. That's the only dragon that makes sense of why they're paired besides Jack.
Is
It's
there any relationship building that happens with these dragons, or is it just like
there
I'm big
is.
dragon beast?
No,
I'm Big
so there
Dragon Beast
is.
that lost my dragon rider, and I haven't had a dragon rider in whatever how many years. And the only other plot point for Terran to be Violet's dragon is he's mated with Zayden's
Sorgil,
dragon.
Sogoril, or something like that. Yeah, no. So it makes sense that like Terran
Oh,
would be drawn to Violet because of the deal that Zayden and Zayden has with Headmaster, and then it would make sense that Terran would kind of go like, I'll just keep an eye on you. But then it goes into like, oh, I'm fearless. I'm here for this golden dragon. But like, 5 people want to kill me in this clearing and opening, but I can stand my ground against this golden dragon. And then Taryn just pops up, goes, "Hey guys, I'm here to save the day." Looms, and then ta-da, they're now matched. Like that is the picking process. That was check, check, check for him. And then later in the book, you can see that there's like a relationship being grown between them. But Taryn is
Yep.
like this grumpy grandfather that doesn't want to hear about any crap and like gossip. But then he sits there and listens the whole time and goes, you could have done something better with like a snappy comeback for no reason, even though number one, he doesn't care, and number two, he's too above this, but he'll still make comebacks like he's edgy. I don't know.
Yeah, and he'll still protect Violet even when she makes stupid decisions. And then
Or can't write him.
afterwards, he's like, "I told you not to do that," or "You should have done this instead." And like you said, I feel like it would have been better if she was a cunning, like
Character.
tactical person, and Terran was a hidden, cunning, tactical dragon. That's why he was like the most sought out dragon that everyone wanted to pair with because he was the biggest and whatever. But not only is he more like most powerful dragon, he could be the most powerful with his like mind too. Like also, I don't understand. So Terran didn't know that his power he gives people is lightning.
No, because his last rider was lightning.
Yeah, exactly.
wait, so
Can of
I
so
worms.
dragons don't know what powers they give to riders?
There are some dragons that can give a this kind of variety of powers. This is how I remember it being explained. Like Dragon A can give powers 1 through 7, right? Right through here. This dragon can give powers 1 through 18. This dragon can give you possibly 2 powers depending on if the bond is strong enough. Then you can get more and more powers from them, but who knows? And then Dragon C gives you 1 power.
What?
Yep.
You just you roll it. This is a really bad D&D campaign. That's what this
you
book series
cannot
is.
you cannot pick your dragon either. The dragon picks you. So like when you go to adoption, you can't go, I love that puppy. No, that puppy needs to love me. And then you could either, as soon as you bond, or the dragon hates you and just blows you up on this training ground.
yeah.
So if they do pick you, you have to bond and find your signal. If you don't get your signal, you just blow up. And that's it.
Why? Why though? I don't understand. I can get behind the dragons choosing the rider thing. I think that was a thing in what Aragon is that was a thing in that book series too. Is the dragon chose the rider. So I'm okay with that. But why do people blow up and why do dragons just randomly kill people if they're like, I don't like you? But what if another dragon likes them? Do the dragons fight? There's so many
No.
to
questions
to
here.
be fair though, it does tell you why you blow up. It's because you have so much energy coursing through your veins from the dragon's power into your body and you don't release it, then you blow up. But
Yeah, like you can't if you can't
Okay.
control his power, it'll like murk you is
but
pretty much what it is. But it just
I don't
it
hate
doesn't make
that.
sense though. But
I
it doesn't make sense because Terran said, "Hey, I'm only going to give you this amount of power. Here's 20%. There's 20% of power. You know what? You need a little bit more. Here's 50% of
Oh,
power." So why couldn't it have just been regulated so they could just unlock the sigil with 20% power and go, "All right, give me the full 100," rather than like blowing them up? I don't understand. It was just like when you think about it, there's so much holes. It's like Swiss cheese here.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say, like, I was okay with people blowing up because dragon power was consumed with no outlet. That makes sense. But then the dragon can regulate the power,
Hmm.
But
which
no other
makes the
dragon does apparently, except for Terran because he cares. So but these other dragons
yeah.
pick their riders, but they don't care, so they just let them explode.
Explode.
But also when a dragon's rider dies, it almost kills the dragon. So there's no consequence when their partner blows up from consuming too much power. It just there's so much with the dragons that like she's not focused. She didn't focus on the dragons at all. She just kind of like this is important, I guess, And so there's too
Yeah,
many
they're
loopholes with the dragon that still doesn't make sense. And then apparently in the third book doesn't make sense at all because there's all kinds of other crap involved now. And it's just I just don't get it. And it really irritates me because I've read so many better like I think that book that I was talking about the why I think it's called like Flamefall or something. That book is it's the same thing. The dragon has to pick the rider and they talk kind of like what is that?
Telepathically.
Yeah,
telepathically, yeah.
telepathically. But they once they're not like connected, they can't talk anymore. Now they can feel if they're in pain. So like their dragon can tell if their rider is in pain. But it's not like Terran where where they're getting it on and Terran can pop in whenever he dang well pleases.
That would be
So
awkward.
I mean he does it. So that's what I mean. Like
They have
it
they
doesn't
have sex and they chat in their head to each other because if the dragons are boning, then the humans get horny. If the humans are boning, the dragons get horny. They're connected.
That's hmm. Okay.
they
Huh.
they can feel each other emotions, which is fine, but you need to like either like you said, give it a consequence or give it a barrier where, once they hit a certain point in their training of their dragon power, they can turn it off. Because I think Zayden can turn it off, if I remember correctly.
Well,
He can turn off the strength power of the feeling and emotion from his dragon.
he
He can still
shields
tell that
himself.
she's
Yeah.
mad, but
Yeah,
I
because
don't.
he shields himself. He's teaching Violet how to shield themselves because since their dragons are so love each other, they actually Violet and Zayden can also speak telepathically to each other through their dragons' telepathicness. So everyone
Oh,
can hear this conversation with each other, but the dragons tend to pretend they can't hear that conversation with each other.
that's why. Like, why have that even be a thing?
Oh,
Like,
and then the fifth dragon
don't
comes
have the
in. Sorry,
humans talk
fifth dragon.
telepathically to each other. Just don't. Don't do that. I don't understand.
Yeah, but he like teaches how to put the shields up so they can do that. It's like I know what she's setting up for, because like the shields idea is pretty thought ahead, right? So the shields has this ultimate ending of that people can read her mind, like hey, like touch her and like see all your stuff. She can put up a shield so that she can actually block to see that. So like it was a progression step of actually a smart thought going through it. I just don't care what the payout was. It's just so bogged down with like there's interesting ideas and interesting setups for these things. It goes nowhere. And then
Yeah,
that
but
one thing that did go somewhere, I'm too bored out of my mind to care.
yeah, but why does it have to come from Zayden? Why can't that lesson come from her dragon? Because her dragon has her best interests in mind. Like, why can't I don't understand.
Because
Like, they're just
when
making
when they
random
first
exceptions.
yeah, when they first become Dragon Rider and Dragon, he really doesn't care. Like he cares, but he doesn't care.
Yeah, because
You
like
know,
That's okay.
she can't
That could be a
hold
progression
on.
arc where the dragon doesn't care at all at the beginning, but slowly over time learns to or
No, but he
figures it.
does. He does because as soon as you get out of the arena of him picking Violet, Violet can't hold on to save her life, and a lot of people also died when their dragons picked up because they can't hold on with their like
yeah,
little
and
horsey
he
thighs
saves her. He saves her.
constantly.
So he cares, but he doesn't care like about the mental stuff. Like when when they're talking telepathically, like you said, it's like the grandpa that's like, I don't want to hear this. Like, go away. And he pretty much does. He's like, you need to learn how to shut me out or whatever.
Yeah,
Because it just, I don't, there's so much going on. And like, like I said, this book had so much potential to be so good if it was written by somebody else, like,
Or even like thought out through.
or
Like as soon
thought
as you
out and wasn't
wrote
pushed out the
this,
door.
yeah, like as soon as you wrote this, I don't know what the process was. I'm assuming she had a crap ton of beta readers, but like
I was
something
just about to ask about that.
it's like I don't know, but I hope so because this could have been a lot better if there's like a critical editor that goes through and goes like, okay, what about this cheese hole? What about this cheese hole? Because yes, like obviously I'm an author. I don't have enough money to pay for all these kinds of editors, so of course my series has cheesy holes, and I know how to fill them with extra cheddar later because I know how to flush it out. This one never got flushed out. And then book two, you have so many more questions and also so many more scenes that I still don't understand. Like that fight scene at the end. You have this one cinematic fight scene. Cinema fight scenes written in books do not work because all you're seeing is one scene rather than the picture. In a battle during the book, you need to know what's going on in most areas. You don't have to focus on like this guy hit this, like D&D's like, oh, I do an attack. Like not like that, but you could see an axe whirling in the background. You could be doing so many more things to make it more like developed into that area where you can just see it. But no, all you got was Zayden jumping off a dragon, throwing a bunch of people out with smoke, jumping back on his dragon. That's it. Like that what else happened? Why was Violet just sitting there staring on a dragon waiting for her turn to attack somebody? It doesn't make any sense. And that's a lot of what this book is. End scene.
And then you have the crazy plot. I don't even think it was a plot twist. The one character that shall not be named that dies. It's like
Liam.
it's
Spoiler
just,
alert.
like in that fight scene, so she sees Liam die because the bad guys, come after, and I think I can't remember if it's a griffin or they have their own dragons. I cannot remember because
No,
I
they're called something
realized.
else. I don't remember what it's called either.
But anyways, it like tears down his dragon and drags him with it. So it's kind of like once that part happens, like, yeah, I really liked Liam and I was sad that he passed away, but she just kind of like was
Vermin.
like,
Vermin.
no, don't, no, not my friend. Like, it
No,
just,
he dies because his dragon dies.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The other,
Doesn't
whatever,
make
the
sense.
dragon griffin, whatever the Zenon
Vermin.
ride,
Vermin.
whatever.
Vermin.
Yeah, it like latched onto Liam's dragon and like dragged him down. So that's why he died.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
So the dragon is just dragged down into this abyss that you don't actually see anything going
oh
on?
no, it like hits the ground or hits rocks or
It's clearly dead. Like it's supposed to be described as death,
Okay.
but it's not like. And then it died. It's supposed to like describe of the death, and then so they get to Liam, and Liam is just like, "I'm so fragile. I'm so dead," and then he dies, which kind of sucks because Liam was actually a pretty fun, interesting character because he was the only one who knew how to shut his mouth. Who knew?
he was actually well thought out and planned.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that let's because I'm not there yet obviously. So how does Liam die exactly in this? Because there's such a good way to do this
So,
actually.
so in the middle of this fight, she did the time stop to save Zayden. So as she's
Okay.
doing the time stop to save Zayden, the other side of the field that is explained later of what was happening, not during, but later, she sees that the vermin or whatever comes over and smashes against the dragon, and they topple over, and so they get to Liam and go, "Don't worry, you're gonna be okay," and then he dies because his dragon died.
And then
Okay.
and then when he dies, that's when Violet really gains control of her lightning out of pure rage or whatever. So then she goes into
Yeah, 'cause anger makes you more
full-blown
controlled.
rage mode, and then all of a sudden, when she can't handle her power because she's Hulk smashing everything with her lightning, she passes out. And then we hit the end of the book where, well, surprise, the plot twist that everybody calls from the first 2 pages of the book: her brother's alive.
Oh yeah,
my
when they
god!
mentioned they mentioned her brother being dead like 13 times in the first chapter.
Yes.
Or I'm being a little hyperbolic, but not too much.
No, it talks about it all the time. And after like the second big long paragraph, I was like, he's not dead. I'm just over this. Like as soon as it would happen, I would gloss right over it, going, I do not care what your brother did to you right now because he's still alive. Don't care. And at the very end, I was like, yep, that was a book.
So
Yeah.
going back to the Liam death thing, so Vermin latches onto Dragon, drags it down, Dragon's murked. Liam stumbles around and has some sad final moment with some final words, and then like just fades. Like that's how that works. Is
Like
that
think
am I?
about
He
a
dies in
man laying in
Violet's
this.
arms.
Yeah,
He
so
dies in
he's
Violet's arms.
yeah, like think about like the where they're like this trend going on where you lay in the snow, going like this is my final death spot. That's
Oh
his
yeah, the
final
bleed out
death.
spot.
Yeah, so he's bleeding out, but not bleeding out at all because he wasn't really injured. He was just his dragon died, so he dies. So then Violet's holding on to him, and then and then
Okay, so
ah.
maybe this might be the grimdark fan in me, but there's such a better way to do that. There's oh gosh, it stings and
Pulls.
is so much more effective if you don't have most of that. Okay, this is how I would re-edit this whole death scene. Okay, and it's not that much different, to be honest. Vermin grabs Dragon. They struggle. Vermin kicks the dragon's ass on the way down, Gandalf Balrog style. Dragon dies. And then you have none of this stumbling around or anything. All of a sudden, the color fades from Liam's skin and he just collapses right there. His eyes have gone white. His soul has left the body. There is no final words. There's no tragic processing of the death. He's just dead. That stings so much harder and fuels that rage scene moment so much better than this weird final moment die in my arms bull.
So
But that's how I would do it differently.
a lot of this can be done. Like that's what I was talking about was like getting like a structure editor or even like a ton of beta readers. You can kind of see where you're going and you can start fleshing out things. Because like as we're picking this apart, because obviously any book can be really bad. All you have to do is just pick it apart, pull something out. You can always find a problem with something. It's
Oh
always
yeah.
going to happen. Why is there so many that we're picking out within like just 2 chapters? Something could have been fleshed out. Go like, you know what? I'll give you a pass. It's okay. I actually like this, Like, this is cheesy enough for me to be okay. The sex scene that had the curtains, sure, why not? Have them on fire. It's adorable. The rest of the stuff can really make this book better. But then every time
It really
we see something, we're like, no, I don't know. Go ahead.
the more conversation I hear about this book and the further I get into it, it almost sounds like she had a bunch of yes men for beta readers, is what happened.
Well, also, I think another thing is because Rebecca Yarros is originally she's a romance writer, which is fine.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like from reading Fourth Wing, I feel like this book had this like weird pull of not knowing what it's okay to have a fantasy romance, but you either need to have a fantasy world that's so much more fleshed out with romance as a side plot or a romance with just a fantasy setting, which is fine.
Yep.
But this book tugs back and forth so much. I want to be a fantasy book, but then I want to be a romance book. But I don't have the fleshed out world that I should to make it a fantasy book. And I have this bickering, barely any smut scene, barely any romance scenes to be considered an actual romance either. And I feel like there's so much push and pull of I don't know what kind of book I want to be that it just everything that's important to each genre just falls apart. And like maybe all of her beta readers or editors are only romance beta readers and
I was about to
editors.
say.
So they don't know like, hey, there's a lot of plot holes in this fantasy setting that you need to cover if you're going to write a what how many books is this book supposed to be? Like 7?
Maybe. Yeah.
There's supposed to be 7 books in this series.
Yeah, I think so.
It's supposed to be a pretty big series. But the problem is if you have so many plot holes that are just never going to get filled and you're going to just keep opening up more plot holes, it just everything's going to fall apart at the seams and nobody's going to care. Either they're not going to care about your world that you spent years developing, or they're not going to care about your two characters who can't decide if they like or hate each other, which is my problem with the two is
So childish.
first and second book, it's the same thing.
It's
All they do is fight and bicker and fight and bicker and bone, and then they fight and bicker and fight and then bone again and
yeah.
then fight. I honestly think that she just doesn't know what she wants to write, a romance book or a fantasy, and she just calls it, oh, it's a fantasy romance because it's in a fantasy world that is not flushed out. Like people like me and you and, you know, Zombie Ryan, we all like
Zombie
my
Ryan.
main genre I read is fantasy. So when I read a
Yep.
fantasy book, especially the first book, I expect it to be kind of boring because I know that we're world building. We're we're kind of creating some plot holes that that are
You're
going to
gonna get
get flushed
filled.
out in second, third,
Yeah.
fourth, fifth book,
They're
but
not holes. They're
they're not
projections.
holes that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and they shouldn't be plot holes anyway. They should be things that you accept as the world, but then get recontextualized as you learn more about the world.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like
But this doesn't have
this
that.
book this book does nothing. Even in the second book, it doesn't. So the second book, you really start opening up into the war, and all the questions that I had about the war at the end of book one didn't really get answered. I mean, there was a few here and there that kind of got answered, but not enough to like. Honestly, the second book was boring, and I could care less, and I had to push myself to finish it.
Yeah, we were
That's why I
messaging
don't
each
want to
other
pick up the
about
third
it.
one. And then
Mm-hmm.
everyone I hear who's kind of like me and Hugh that don't really like the series say I read the third book and I don't even know what's going on anymore, and there's so many new characters that don't exist in book one or book two. Like I feel like she's just trying to throw a bunch of stuff out that way she can have 8 books.
Well, I do know that what she went on record was that she pushed herself to get the third one done in time
Yep.
for a deadline, so she's no longer going to be doing that. So with rush, you get rushing mistakes.
Yep.
So she's at least acknowledging rushing mistakes with it. We haven't read it, so I don't really want to know yet right now. But it is supposed to have like a lot of rushing mistakes where there's a lot more cheese and like holes with everything that's going
Yep.
on. But you already have that in book 1 and 2. Why is there more in book 3?
Yeah. And like I just want it to be like either be a romance book in just a fantasy setting where I don't need a whole lot of world building and maybe the war is just in the background, you know,
Or
not
just
really
start the
like a
war at the
main,
end?
yeah, or anything like that. But it's just, or have it a heavy fantasy setting and they end up falling in love and they didn't like each other in the beginning because they are, two, the bad people, the rebellions and the non-rebellions, So it's like if she just picked one or the other, then it would make more sense. But because it was a constant tug of war of like, I want to be a fantasy book. Oh no, now I want to be a romance book. Oh no, now I want to go back to being a fantasy book. I just felt like I couldn't get into the story as much as I wanted to because I didn't know if I was reading a fantasy story or a romance story.
Yeah.
And I think that might be just a problem from her being a main genre writer, which is fine. But then if you're going to jump into a new genre, make sure you really do the research. Like there is a reason The Hobbit is 5 bazillion pages long and is so detailed to the point where it's like, I don't really need it to be this detailed. I don't care what the chicken leg on the table looks like. But there's a point
The
to
Rock.
it being that detailed is because it is a fantasy book and fantasy readers expect fully flushed out worlds and characters. It's not that hard to know that. Like, honestly,
Even
it
if
might
you.
be hard to write in that genre, but at
Oh, yeah.
least go into it knowing, like, okay, I got to sit down and really flesh out where I want my world to go or what I want my world to be. And then I'll sit here and think about my characters and figure out where they're going to fit in my world that I have built. Just like the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, he
George
is
R. R.
so in
Martin.
depth in his world that like he wrote
Too in depth.
characters. He wrote characters for his world. He didn't write the world for his characters. Like he plotted the world first and then took characters and was like, "Cool, you're part of this house. You're part of this house. You're the bad guy. You're the good guy. You're the creepy dude." It's it just takes time. That's really it. And I feel like she knew she wanted to dip into fantasy, which is fine, but she just didn't take the time for fantasy readers. And that's why if you talk to a lot of really hardcore fantasy readers, they hate this book. Because it's not a fantasy book. Like it's
Hi.
not. Yeah.
Cause like you're allowed to have different types of fantasy, right? So like
Yep.
my
Yep.
high fantasy book would not be comparable to Game of Thrones, to The Hobbit,
Yeah.
to even Brandon Sanderson's like Way of the Kings. It's not even close to comparable. It is comparable to the childish antics, but taken seriously. This
Yep.
world doesn't feel like it takes itself seriously, like the Fourth Wing world. It doesn't feel
Yep.
like it does care. It cares like halfway through where you can actually start seeing a lot of like the details of like what about this thing about this castle, how did we get here, like some histories, like it finally starts caring. And then you go into the backyard, you don't care about it anymore, and that's what's hard
Yep.
because like with high fantasy, like what you were just talking about, because I concur with you, is that it's just it doesn't resonate with you. Like the idea resonates, the execution I can't tell you
Doesn't.
why.
And like you said, there can be different fantasies like your book. Your book isn't as detailed as, Tolkien and whatever.
Mm.
However, I understand your world because you actually care about your world.
Mm.
I feel like Rebecca Yarros doesn't actually care about this world. She kind of does, and she's like, I know I want there to be a war, which is fine. That's fine. If that's what you want it, then that's totally okay. But you need to actually, for fantasy readers, I want to read something you actually care about. And for me, Rebecca Yarros only cares about her characters more than her world, which is fine in a romance setting. Like most romance books are written like a freaking Hallmark movie. They're predictable. You know that the two people are going to be,
They're cozy.
they're
Mhm.
cozy, or even if they're not cozy, like dark romance. It
Mm-hmm.
ain't cozy, but I still know that they're going to be together, and it's character driven. It's not
Story.
world driven.
Yep.
And there is a way to character drive fantasy, but still have a good setting. And
Yeah.
yeah, kind of what you were talking about. Even in the early parts of the book, it feels like she enjoys fantasy as an aesthetic,
Yeah.
but doesn't understand how to connect the gears to make it all work together.
Yep.
Because there is a way. There is ways to revise this book and tie things together cleanly. It requires a lot of trimming of fat and adding some things, but there's a way to make it work. There was no reason for her to start with this giant war. She could have just started with Violet, her mom. Her mom's this war hero, and she wants her daughters to follow in her footsteps. That's every overbearing parent that wants their kid to be a doctor. We already know that story. And then you put it in a fantasy setting, and then you build outward from there. You don't need to have this great big epic war in the backdrop with all this stuff, and then try to then focus in on something. So there are ways to do it, character driven,
Yeah.
but this isn't it.
Like I said, it just feels like it's a constant like tug of war between character driven book, world building book, character driven book, world building book. And it's like, I don't know, like I just want more from either one or the other. Like, I mean, I'm not a romance reader. It's not really my cup of tea. If I do, it's dark romance. But when I go into a romance book, I just want to read about the characters. I don't care about the world. When I go into a fantasy book, even when there is a romance, I still want to care. I care more about the world, and then like it's kind of like a plus if I care about the characters. Obviously, you want to care about the main characters, or it's going to be boring, you know. So like, I'll go back to my favorite little Dragonfall book that, in my opinion, is 40 times better than this book. And but there's a romance. There is a romance in it, but it's just so much better, well done, and it their romance drove some of the plot, but it wasn't like the main plot. The other plot was, dragon leaders were all exterminated and people hate the dragon leaders' kids, which is one of the main characters or whatever. So you still have that like conflict, but it's just better written. I don't know. Like it's just not hard to just either take the time and really build your world and then build characters that you care about into that world. Like, I don't know. I'm not an author though, so maybe it is a lot harder than I think.
It's called taking some time and plotting it out.
And maybe that's the problem that I was picking up on. I didn't know she was a primarily a romance writer before driving into Fourth Wing. So maybe all of her beta readers are just romance beta readers, and she really didn't have anybody who dives into fantasy.
Yeah.
Some of her, I've heard great things about her romance books. Like I said, I don't like kissy kissy lovey lovey romance books. Like that's just not my. So I will never
You don't
put
like
that
vanilla
for.
romance?
Yeah, like I mean, I guess I should take that back because I'm reading a Christmas tree smut book, but it's like
A Christmas tree smut book.
even that. Like I when I bought this book, I knew it was going to be a Hallmark movie, and that's exactly what it is, and that's fine,
Because this is what you're
you know,
expecting.
and exactly like, sure, is this book written prime? No, but at least I know what I'm getting out of this. With Fourth Wing, I was like, I went in expecting one thing, and I got two different things. Like, I expected one book, and I got two books in one book. Like,
That rode the same
it's
line. Yeah.
yeah, it was just not thought out, and I really don't understand the hype. Like me and Q said in the beginning, I think it is a great book for either somebody who's never really read fantasy or wants to get into the fantasy genre or just wants to get back into reading in general. It's great. It's a perfect book. You'll love it. The storyline is easy-ish to follow if you're not a big
If you're not
reader.
nitpicking or anything like that.
Yeah, like if you just want to sit back and have a good time,
This is it.
sure, this book is perfect for
This is
you.
a beer
But
with sunlight. That's all you need.
yeah, if you just want something that you can read while you're drinking your morning cup of coffee, sitting on your porch, perfect. But if you're wanting to read this for a really, really in-depth, good story that you care about,
Put it
I
down.
would not.
Put it down.
Yeah, just move on to something.
So that makes me hopeful for because there's a TV show or a movie adaptation coming for this book, and this might be the one time that the adaptation might be better than the book because you cut a lot of the stuff that doesn't make sense.
We'll hope.
But we'll
I
see.
doubt.
I'm already blowing so many brains. This is too mean to say. Never mind. All right, thank you for joining. If you did like this book, though, because it's been like an hour and 20 minutes of us just
Oh.
on this book. If you did like it, there's no harm, no foul to you. There are some good things, but like we said, there's a lot of bad things that I could not overlook personally. And I think I gave this a 1 star. I wanted to get rid of it, but me and Jess are doing buddy reads, and I can't get rid of a perfectly good buddy read story that I say I hate. So,
I mean, I gave it. I think when I first gave it stars, I think I gave it a 3 star, but I think I dropped it down to like a 2.5 because, like you said, there are parts in this book that I really did enjoy, ish. But
yeah, like when you're first reading, it's kind of like Whiplash. When you're first reading it, you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then you put it down and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Now I'm
yeah,
actually thinking about it, and it doesn't make any sense. And then you just get whiplashed all over again.
yeah. So great book for people, beginners, or people who just want to get back into reading and they don't want a heavy, thought out, fleshed out book. Perfect. Go for it. You're gonna have a good time. But when you want something that's a little bit more fleshed out, or if you are an avid fantasy reader, would not recommend. There is way better fantasy romance books out there than this.
And we'll probably have a part 2 whenever Ryan finishes the audiobook so we can just rehash through his memories of him reading it. And then he'll really know what we're talking about.
Well, damn, you gave me a time scale now. I got to do this quick.
Just sit back while you're working and listen to it. Cleaning your room, listen to it.
Do your dishes, listen to it. Walk the dog, listen to it.
I do need to do my dishes. They are piling up a little bit. I didn't do them yesterday either.
Stupid Susan.
Exactly. Go listen to it. It's a fun time.
It's definitely a book. It definitely exists.
It's a book.
I'm not jealous how popular it is at all. All right, bye.